Dear YouTube, we hate AI. Do not start gatekeeping your site with a phony machine that discriminates and punishes people with condescension and patronizing. AI text scanning is going to disproportionately harm neurodivergent or linguistically challenged people. Quite frankly, we do not trust your AI system to be able to differentiate between adults and children for many reasons, the chief of which being that interest in something does not equate perfectly to an age group. In past generations, it might not have been accepted for adults and older people to enjoy the things that kids commonly enjoyed. You were supposed to grow out of such things. But the truth is that not everybody does, and many do not want to. Someone's search history may include Transformers, My Little Pony, or Powerpuff Girls for many reasons. Maybe it's because they are a child, or maybe it's because they are nostalgic for these franchises of their childhood, despite being an adult now. Maybe they are interested in these franchises in order to better get in touch with their children. Maybe they are researching these franchises for a college project analyzing kids' media. Or maybe, just maybe, they are interested in these franchises simply because they enjoy them as an adult, no matter what label gets put on them for who should be enjoying them. Neurodivergent people are colloquially known to have an elevated interest in what is typically considered childish, and being in that group myself, I worry very much for myself and others for how we will be treated by a faceless machine made for a one-size-fits-all approach. Will my own personal interest in video games be misconstrued as making me a child simply for enjoying the things that I enjoy? If not, then what will become adult content? So then, what would become adult content? Golfing, cigar reviews, car maintenance, videos about health insurance, and so many other droll adult pursuits? Will I have to search only for these most sober and beige of topics in order to be considered adult enough for your AI system? More to the point of how muddy and foolish I think this endeavor truly is, the most ubiquitous and unanimously enjoyed activity that every age group participates in and watches content of, without doubt, is most likely sports. Children who have barely begun to speak and adults in retirement both can and do have a passion for any and all sports. So what will you do then to determine the age group who is allowed to participate in watching sports content? Furthermore, if text scanning extends to comments users make, this will have a high likelihood of producing false positives. When on social media, regardless of age, no one is inclined to act their most serious or wisest. So what will you do to determine their age? Grammar? Adults and children alike make spelling errors very often, or use words incorrectly due to mistakes, due to fatigue, or due to lack of care, or even unfortunately, due to a lack of education. Slang? Adults and children alike use slang terms in order to signify their casualty in a setting, or to make jokes, or simply because it's their most comfortable and preferred way of speaking. Emotion? Adults and children alike can express feelings of joy, rage, sadness, confusion, and quite often do online when in their communities or discussing their most valued topics of interest. Swearing? As much as adults don't want to admit it, children already know how to swear and do so probably as often as adults. So now, will every comment have to be a perfectly written, dry, professional thesis statement on the topic at hand in order not to be flagged as childlike? A person may have a developmental disorder which causes them to speak differently than the average adult despite being an adult. A person may have dyslexia, which causes them to make frequent errors when spelling. A person may have autism, which causes them to engage socially in a way different from the norm, or have difficulty expressing themselves as frankly as a neurotypical adult. Is your system going to be able to accurately account for all these minute differences between the billions of people on this planet, a large portion of which use your platform? Requiring the use of ID to verify identity is a grotesque overreach of control and monitoring. So then you may say, simply verify your age with ID. Surely if you are an adult, you should have no trouble proving it, right? YouTube, I love using your platform, but let's face it, you do not do my taxes. You are not my employer, and you are not a government agency. Quite simply, your platform is not important enough to be allowed access to my personal identifying information. Furthermore, it should not be allowed to invade my privacy for such a frivolous reason as making sure a kid is not watching adult content, whatever that means. Not only is this a vast invasion of my privacy, but it's also another point of weakness in the ever-inflating weak points of our modern digital system's obsession with collecting and storing personal information. When even banks and credit card providers are being hacked and the personal information of hundreds of millions of people is being leaked every day, no doubt being used by bad actors to commit identity fraud and all other manner of horrible crimes, what chance do you think you, a video streaming platform, have in being able to combat those attacks? Will you be willing to take the fall when, inevitably, this information is leaked? Will you be willing to shell out for the inevitable lawsuits that follow? If you're really dead set on rolling out this ID verification, if I were you, I would start investing half of my revenue into bulking up my cybersecurity division to be completely bulletproof. But of course, that's impossible. It is not a company's job to protect kids from themselves. It's the parents' job. This is less a direct call to you, YouTube, but more a direct call to all who may be crying for some sort of sea change in regard to their children or teens accessing adult content on the internet. Now, I'm trying to side with you on this one. It shouldn't be your job to protect kids from seeing things their parents don't want them to see. It should be the parents' job. I'm very worried and saddened that, by and large, parents and lawmakers seem to have either forgotten this or simply no longer believe it is true. As the platform hosting the content, you have the power to put the responsibility in the hands of the parents and caretakers of the children on your platform. You can tell them, no, we can't have and do not want to have the responsibility to be a fully functional child's daycare for you. When I was a child, my parents did monitor what I watched, even on YouTube. They vetted the TV shows I watched and told me I had to ask permission to watch YouTube videos that weren't about science or education. They did not need some drastic system of overreach from a corporation to do the job of parenting for them. They parented their child themselves, as all parents are supposed to do. By the way, YouTube Kids already exists, doesn't it? So this is already a superfluous restriction. AI will be used to enact unjust censorship. We do not trust this new AI system not to be used to censor diverse voices such as those in the LGBTQ+ community, those in any community deemed politically unpopular by a ruling faction. There are still those that incorrectly believe, especially those who are speaking loudly now, that belonging to the LGBTQ community is a disease that is caught, that it is unnatural, and if their children are not exposed to it, they will not identify with it or become part of the community when they reach adulthood. This is false, as much as it is false to believe that a black child who is not exposed to the black community will no longer be black, or a Hispanic child will cease to be Hispanic if not exposed to other Hispanic people. I can speak from my own experience. As a child, I was never taught about the many diverse voices and life experiences of those who were gay, bisexual, transgender, or any other flavor of queer, yet I still belong to the community today, and have retroactively accounted for many decades of knowledge about my community. Despite the best efforts of my state education system and religious background to shield and blockade me from the knowledge they deemed undesirable, it did not prevent me from becoming who I am. Many also ignorantly believe that the LGBTQ community is obscene in such a way that it is grotesque for a child to be exposed to it, thus further adding to their desire for censorship. To this I counter. It's not considered adult for a child to watch a movie portraying a straight romance between a prince and a princess, such as in a Disney movie. It's not considered obscene for a girl to fantasize about true love's kiss that turns a frog into a handsome prince. So, how is it obscene to show the exact same scenes and stories, but from the perspective of a gay couple instead? Unless it involves sex or sexual acts, which is already pretty undesirable to the platform as a whole, it has no business being censored. I use this as an example, but for any genre or type of topic, we don't believe that your AI system will be used in good faith and will be used to censor good, honest, and important voices. Personal word from a YouTube veteran. I have been watching YouTube for probably more than a decade at this point. I grew up with it, and I grew up with what many would consider a very turbulent and risky moderation system at the time. And yet, I would never say that my experience on YouTube was dangerous for my development. I was allowed vast access to many different types of content, science and education, gameplay and variety, comedy and personality content. I learned how to vet my experience to my taste, avoid what I considered messy and negative, collect more of what was a positive impact on me, my growth, and my life. Many videos, many channels, which I consider to be pivotal to my growth as a person, for the reasons of education, life experience, and personality, would likely become inaccessible to young people in my same position in the modern day. My personal belief is that the more training wheels and padding we put on our children's experience online, the less they will be able to learn to think for themselves, and the less they will understand what makes people's voices and lives so diverse and meaningful in their own way. I do not say this to mean that I believe children's safety online is not important. And I do not say this meaning that I believe that children should be allowed to watch whatever they want, wherever they want. But I do believe that this is a step in a very wrong direction, which will make the internet, YouTube being a large part of the internet, a more closed off, restricted, and stifling place to be, which harms every single one of us, no matter the age group. Final word? We do not want more AI machines being rolled out to restrict our online freedoms and misuse our personal information and identities to misconstrue who we are and what we do. We do not believe in their efficacy, as it has already been proven not to be reliable. We do not want our right to privacy to be invaded by a platform that does not need access to our most closely guarded information. We do not believe that more restrictions on content will be used in good faith and will be used to censor important voices and stifled creativity. We want to be given a complete and transparent explanation of how exactly AI will be used, and for its invasion into our carefully curated accounts to be either lessened or averted entirely. We do not like this. We do not like you for doing this. Either explain yourselves or cease and desist. Sincerely, a concerned citizen. That's my personal letter to YouTube about the rolling out of the AI restrictions on basically vetting whether or not you're an adult or a child based on whatever arbitrary methods they've come up with. Obviously, I don't agree with it, and I don't think most of us agree with it. No matter what side you're on, whether you're a liberal or conservative, Democrat, Republican, whatever you think about anything, you shouldn't be okay with some random site that you watch cat videos on having access to your ID. That's ridiculous. It's not necessary. This is kind of an open letter to YouTube. Try as I might to find some kind of email or even a P.O. box that I could send this letter to let my frustration be known. I couldn't. Really, the best I have is that at the very bottom of the YouTube sidebar, there is this send feedback button. And that's really the most direct way I've been able to find to get this information to them. Some of you might say, well, this isn't going to do anything, they don't care, they're not going to listen. Well, maybe they won't, but at least we can try, right? I'd rather at least make it known, my frustration and discontent, rather than just complaining about it silently on Discord or whatever. So if you agree that you want to show YouTube how discontent you are with this decision, you can at least go there, and I'll put a link to the copy pasta for my essay in the description. You can change it however you want. I would advise, if you do want to add your own spin on it for your own personal experience, try your best not to put like ad hominem in there or insults or anything, because I mean, I'm pretty frustrated about this, I'm angry about this, but insults aren't gonna really get the point across. The reason that we're saying this is because we want to give actual reasons for why we're frustrated about this. So those are my reasons. If you have your own reasons, I would encourage you to put them in as well. Maybe, wishing upon a star, if enough people push back on this in a way, directly sending this feedback to YouTube, maybe they'll at least be more transparent about how they're going to do it. Maybe they'll reconsider. That's the best we can hope for, really. And other than that, just hope that someone else comes along with a better platform that doesn't want to take advantage of our privacy. So, I guess that's my piece. Thanks for listening.